One of the things I pray for and I see it happen, I'm absolutely in love with, is when an owner actually is a leader.
When I say that we're there ready for those phone calls, it is a true statement. You know, we're ready for those phone calls because we want to get you on your way. We want to make sure that the small issue that you might have or the question that you might have can be quickly answered and you get along on your merry way.
Customer service makes a big difference. And, what I want to ask the people listening is, how good is your customer service? All righty. How's everybody doing on this beautiful day? I will tell you right now that it is anniversary day for SquareCoil over here. It is the anniversary of the day we bought this building that we're in. It's been exactly 1 year. Time flies when you're having fun. I'll tell you what, if you were to ask me, how long ago did you buy that building? I'd say, 4 or 5 months ago. So that's what happens when you get old. You lose track of time, memory, thought process, hearing, and yet we still have kids in the house and they haven't left yet. Whatever. That's how it is. I got the wonderful and beautiful and talented Marissa with us here today, and you just got back from training.
I sure did. Yeah.
What state were you in?
I was in the lovely state of Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one tropical paradise to another.
Yeah, exactly.
No weather shock there.
Coast to coast, no. And outside of a couple of sprinkles, nothing too much to worry about weather-wise, which was nice.
They do have weather over there. I'm not used to it.
Yeah, me either. And I sometimes, if like a rumbling truck goes by, I'm fairly certain that it's the beginning of some type of tropical storm, and I'm usually under the desk. So I was happy that didn't happen this time.
I remember talking to some guy in Florida and goes, I'll take tornadoes all day over an earthquake. And I just looked at him, I was like, you are special.
Yeah. I like the surprise of an earthquake, I mean, at least it's like you don't have anything to stress out about and worry about. It's just like, earthquake, cool, I know what to do.
Yeah, most of them are 2, 3. Little God's Etch-a-Sketch.
Exactly.
Slide for a second, you go on your day.
Exactly.
So, training. I wanted to kind of talk about training and whatnot because let's not lie. We're pulling back the curtain. Now, I don't want to talk about the sign company in general, but just in training in general and what happened. Sometimes we have good training. Sometimes we have bad trainings. And when I difference between good and bad trainings from when I was training was, did they listen or did they not listen? That was the difference of good training and bad training. It was pretty much the same black and white coming out of my mouth, but whether they listened or whether they argued their point was usually became good or bad.
Sure.
And you came back from a really good experience. Am I correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say in general, the majority of my trainings are good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have too many outliers. And one of the reasons I think they're good or what makes trainings better in some cases than others is how much the team kind of know that I'm coming, know that this is happening, and know that there are no other alternatives. So you're like, okay, well, this could really suck for me, but actually the owners of this company, there's nothing else to go. Like there's no other way to do it. You're either going to be on board or you're going to, potentially ship out. So obviously it's not usually that cut and dry, but I think having ownership involved kind of early on, understanding what's coming and just communicating that makes it a really big difference. But yeah, this was a great training. I mean, you know me, Aaron. I love talking to people. I love this industry. And it's such a pleasure for me to kind of go to these companies and see, the similar personalities. And I think we've talked about that before as well, where you have very similar personalities kind of at every company.
You do.
But how they react and engage with the software is always really nice.
One of the things I pray for and I see it happen, I'm absolutely in love with is when an owner actually is a leader and they actually come in and, they rally their troops and they go, all right, guys, this is what's happening. We're bringing SquareCoil in. This is going to be, and when they lead, I'm like, oh, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
Because they already know who's the chief, who's the Indian.
Yeah.
And whenever I go to train and the owner's just sitting there behind me going, the floor's yours. And I'm like, oh, we're screwed. You have a whole bunch of chiefs, no Indians. All the Indians think they're chiefs. Like this is bad.
Yeah.
And it always goes bad. So yeah, when you came back all smiles and giddy, I was like, she had a good one.
Yeah. And it was an interesting training because there were some dynamics where we had some people kind of wanting to retire and leave. And
Mm.
they didn't necessarily have to have buy-in to the software. They could have easily just been like, yeah, whatever, I'm out in 6
Yeah.
months or I'm out in a year or whatever that agreement was. And they didn't. They were there kind of crying in their Cheerios a little, like, oh God, when do I have to learn something? I'm an old dog. I don't want to learn new tricks. But it really makes a difference even when that type of personality kind of sticks with it, and sits in. It's like, all right, are they going to beat me up a little? And I love to hate on salespeople, right? It's like my favorite thing when I do training. And I often, I pick on them because they're such an important part in that real, like, getting the software properly launched in a
Yeah.
company. Like, if I can get sales buy-in, then everything downstream will really flow quite nicely. But sometimes I have to poke them a little to get them. And so it was nice to have this guy who didn't necessarily really need to even be there, kind of there and engaged. And I love on the third day, and you know how this training goes, right? First day, we kind of, what is it that you like to say? It's a 3-day process
Oh, yeah.
mentally, right?
Oh, yeah. No, day one is they get used, they're listening to it, they realize what they have to learn, and they go home and they hit the bottle heavy.
Yeah.
And then day two, they come in and they either acceptance or they decided to fight. So it's literally fight or flight. And they fight and they argue. And then by the end of day two, they kind of understand and they go back home, they drink some more. And on day three, they come in, they're like, all right, it totally works. We get it now.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. And that I experienced this again this time. And particularly again with the salespeople, they're just like, day one, they're kind of a little excited, but a little nervous. And then day two, it's hit them like, oh God, this is going to actually be a little bit of work. And then day three, on day three, one of the things I love to do is go through their system. So, hey, we've kind of gone over this the last couple of days. Let's take a look at your system and see what's been entered in over that period of time. And man, from day one, where people are like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to get this, whatever, to day three, companies will go from having 0 projects in their system. And then on day three, like, I think there was 68 projects.
Oh, that's a lot.
By the time they were done. And it was just because it was like a all-in mentality of like, hey, I understand this is going to help people downstream. Some of these frustrations that I have will be fixed or will feel less important because now I have all those things. And my catchphrase, which I love, is Cat V. In fact, I was talking to somebody about it, and I think we're going to have a t-shirt that says Cat V. If you know, you know.
You have your own mini culture inside.
Right, mini culture. But, and it's consistency, accountability, transparency, and visibility. And time again, the things that we hear as feedback, owners are hearing as feedback, is that everybody is doing a good job, right? We've never met the person that everybody else is talking about. We've never met the employee that everybody hates. We've never met the employee that doesn't do their job, right? Those people don't exist when we're there. So for us, we can kind of clean slate everything, and all of that sense of people feeling like there's a lack of accountability. Now we can prove it.
Yeah.
Hey, I sent you this task, and for 4 days, you chose to ignore it. So, I won't be able to move forward until I can get the response to this. And that sort of stuff, it's a subtle difference, and it doesn't feel like it should make such a big deal. But man, it makes a big, big difference when people kind of drink the Kool-Aid.
If you get them to drink the Kool-Aid on day one. So I always said, if you got more than 40 projects on day three, you're doing good. 50, real good. 60, the home run. Now we're talking home run status. This company's got it dialed in. They're putting all their stuff in.
Yeah.
You can tell they're going to move forward with
Yeah.
it. And it's always so funny because you go to this first sales guy and you can literally watch him like hit the keyboard like it's a scary poisonous snake. They're like, and then after a while, then they're all typing away and everything's good. And I always tell everybody, don't listen. You can't break it. Just start typing. You'll be fine.
Small segue here. Want to talk to you guys about SquareCoil software and what it does for your companies. If you're the type of guy that's still doing pen and paper and you think you're rocking and rolling, you just might be, but you're not running at the most efficient pace possible for yourself. Imagine doing a report. You want to know how many sales each salesperson did for the entire year. So you sit down and get all your books out. It takes you 2-3 hours to build this Excel spreadsheet and you got your answer. But what if you could just click a button? And then your 2 or 3 hours are back in your hands and you can evoke change inside of your company for those 2-3 hours versus building a report. That's what SquareCoil software does for you. That's what we bring to the table in the way of efficiency. So check us out if you're not using us.
But then we had something else happen. while you're on the trip. And that's kind of what I really want to discuss. That was very interesting. You went to dinner with them, and they said that we were not the only rooster in the hen house.
First of all, shock and horror.
Yeah, right.
What do you mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yes, as I was, just trying to eat my dinner, and there was a mention of a couple different softwares that they were testing out as they were testing us out. And
now, the funny thing is they were already running our software.
Yes.
And then before they brought the second company online, 2 years later, they decided to look at all the other softwares again before they made the decision.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, it's a trust but verify kind of thing. So they wanted to trust that we were good, but they sort of wanted to verify it in the market. And so, we're sitting and chatting, and this other company was brought up, and the owner just said, the main real selling point for me, and he's like, because you can learn things, and we know that SquareCoil is good, and when we were looking at this other software, it wasn't as intuitive. It just didn't walk us through the things as much as SquareCoil does. And he's like, every software has got its challenges, and I'm like, I know. But he said, ultimately, it wasn't as intuitive. And really, what it came down to was the customer service that he experiences, that he and his team have experienced with his other company. He said, I so appreciate that every time I call and speak to somebody, I know that they want me to be successful. I know that their ultimate goal is for me and my company to be successful. And he's like, and that's what sealed the deal. And after I patted myself on the back, as I love to do, and I ruffled my peacock feathers, it's an intangible thing, customer service. And I think in our day and age, we're so used to kind of not receiving any type of customer service that when you do get it, it luckily is really valued. And he very much valued what he feels is good customer service. So
when we started this company, I will tell you what, the thing that I hated the most about every company on the planet was press 1 for English, then get somebody on the phone that didn't speak English, barely, and then they had no idea how to help you. Yeah. And you're just sitting there going, what a gigantic waste of time.
Yeah.
And then recently everybody's like, oh, just text us. No, I have a problem now. Not when you feel like it. Not like, oh, here's my quick text back, so we're taking care of you technically, and then I'm going to disappear for half an hour, then come back and do one text message. That's not customer service either. And so when I built this, I said, you know what? We're going to have live, in-house, English-speaking. People have been from the signage industry. No ifs, ands, or buts. You call, we pick up the phone, and we're here to help.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted, because if I'm typing the software, I don't want to learn the software. I want to send that proposal out to the client. I want to enter the time cards and see what my costs were. I want to work on my business, not learn your business.
Yeah.
That was the whole goal.
Yeah.
And so when we did the customer service, we just said, no, the phone's going to ring. And the only difference that we've done recently, and even then I feel bad about, was 1 for sales, 2 for support.
I know.
And even then, it's just click, boom, phone rings.
Yeah.
And still within 10 seconds, you're on the person with a live phone.
Absolutely.
We just want to know which department to send you to.
Yeah.
Because another thing that I used to hate was you call customer service, they go, that's not my department, sir. One moment. And you go on hold, and then you're like, when is somebody going to pick up the phone? It drives me up a wall.
Absolutely.
But a customer service makes a big difference. And, what I want to ask the people listening is, how good is your customer service?
Yeah.
I got to ask this question. You think it's good because you hold your line, but have you disseminated the information and the culture and the thought process to all your team members that talk to your clients? Have you actually told them, we expect you to make all phone calls that were called to you inside of 4 hours? We expect you to answer all emails within a 24-hour period. We expect all text messages within a 48-hour period.
Mm-hmm.
And for all you listening, yes, text messages are information only. That is not a form of communication.
No.
That's bullshit. Whole freaking world. If you had text messages first, and then all of a sudden somebody invented the phone, you would never text again. You know it, and I know it. You're like, oh my God, I get to hear inflection. I get to heir their voice. Why was I ever texting?
Yeah.
We just built the technology the wrong way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it really is true. It's how we talk with our, we talk and associate and make sure that they get what they want.
Yeah.
And even when we can't get what they want, then we have to come out to this thing that some people have a problem with. It's called honesty. We don't know. We're going to get back to you.
Right.
Usually it's only about 15, 20 minutes before we get back to them. But, we got to be honest.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think, the depth of knowledge that we have within our our group really does mean that we can answer those questions very succinctly and get them off the phone, which is ultimately what they want to be able to do, right? They want to
Yep.
be able to call, have a question, and get off the phone with us. Although we sometimes in the office we have like an urge to just keep talking to them because we're just like, hey, we're so glad you called. How's it going over there? Like, we haven't talked to you for a while. And I now tease companies that we've had for a while because, we only hear from them now when they have a
Yes.
question about something or whatever. And I'm like, you don't call, you don't write. We had a really serious like we were friends, deep friends for about 6 weeks. Now you don't even care about me. But, and, we often, like when I go train, I'm often saying, you don't suffer in silence. When I say that we're there ready for those phone calls, it is a true statement. We're ready for those phone calls because we want to get you on your way. We want to make sure that the small issue that you might have or the question that you might have can be quickly answered and you go along on your merry way. Yeah.
Oh, it's too funny.
Yeah.
And it's super funny. Just our society, our industry has gone the wrong way.
Yeah.
I want every one of our companies to be a success story. I want all of them to be absolute rock stars and we get it every single time. They're dialed in. They go, hey, our revenue per employee was 150. Now it's 180. Now it's 192. Hey, 1 month was even 200,000. I want to hear those success stories. And then they go, we didn't get much. Like, whoa, you're not paying attention here. Let me show you the reports to pay attention to. And they call back and they go, oh, I got it. Now I understand. Those are so much fun. Those are mini I made it moments, that you love to hear.
Yes.
And it's just nuts that other corporations don't feel the same way.
Well, it's expensive. I mean, let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
It is expensive to have people sitting around. And not that I'm saying we're always sitting around, but you get the point. I mean, sometimes the phones aren't ringing. Sometimes the emails aren't coming through. That is an expense that companies no longer want to bear. And therefore, we are dealt with chat AI or chat GTP or whomever. We get a bot until you just like, how many times do you call and you're like, representative, for the love of God, right? And 25 minutes later, you finally get somebody, and they're sometimes not even able to help. So yeah,
there was I don't know if it's out today, but there was about 5 years ago where you would get those bots and representative. But if you cussed, if you dropped an F-bomb or anything else, they'd hang up. It was built for that because they didn't want those cranky customers to deal with their customer support. And so if you cuss, they said, sir, we don't need to deal with your attitude. And the people were allowed to hang up. And the thing that was the little machine that was running around, that little, half-ass AI would hang up on you.
Ooh.
And so you literally had to stay calm, cool, collect, even though you had said representative 52 times and we're on the 9th, 8 or 7 button that we're pushing. You still be like, yes, please. Representative, please.
Well, man, anybody who knows me pretty well enough that I would not have made it ever to a live human.
No, I have been hung up multiple times because they make it so freaking difficult.
Yeah.
And I swear, I just feel like they had like a call center and it had like 92 buttons at all of these different departments. At the end, the person was just one dude sitting in the back watching a TV show and his phone would never ring. He's like, you didn't make it through the maze this time, bummer.
Sucks to be you. Yeah. Eat my ramen noodles.
Having a live customer service team here and having a live customer service team that's educated, huge night and day.
Yeah.
It's funny. I go back to my sign company and I go, oh, we have some places that we can step up. Sure. We can level up on this where things that we didn't have in place.
Yeah.
But having the software company where it was so tangible in your face, you can go back to the signage company and go, yeah, our customer service should be better. We should have a culture where we all kind of think the same way so the person gets the same experience every time.
Yeah. Consistency, right?
Mm-hmm.
The big C.
Yes. starts the cat V there. What is next up on the horizon for your training?
Yeah, so I've got a couple of trainings coming up. I think everybody's getting a little anxious for the end of the year. And as we know, the business kind of lulls a little. So it's a perfect time. So I have a company that is they have had a huge turnover. They've actually almost doubled their business since the last time I was out training. So I'm going to come out and do a 2-day kind of refresh the team that was still there and had my original training. And then now the 20 plus people that they have kind of hired as they've grown. And, we all know I like to take credit where credit's due. So I think we should definitely take credit as a software that we've helped them grow in that capacity in such a short period of time. I mean, it's really only been 2 years, and to be able to kind of almost double your business is incredible. So,
Well, a reboot is something that we just started doing the last year anyway.
yep.
And saying, hey, let's get you to level 1, level 2 on our first launcher company, get you rolling, get you smooth, get you tiled in, and then have us come back out for a 2-day reboot
Mhm.
where we say, okay, let's dive into these deeper reports. What's
Absolutely.
happening here? What parts of the system are you not using? Because there's still a lot of money to be saved in efficiencies if you use 100% of the system.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's so much information, that
It is.
first training. You feel a little battered at the end of it. You're like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, I don't know what happened. And so these reboots are a really nice opportunity because now the dust is settled, you've got a good feeling about the software. You can see how much it's benefited you. And then to your point, now let's go to the second level, third level, fourth level, fifth level, even if
Yep.
if they're ready and
Yeah.
waiting for it. And after that, I've got a company that's brand new. So they have been in the software and we've kind of got them up and
Yeah, so they haven't
ready.
entered anything. It's
Nope,
going to be a
haven't entered
whole
anything.
brave new world for them.
Exactly. So, and we'll kind of get them right before the holidays so they can get a little practice and then start the new year fresh, which I think a lot of companies look forward to. They can get clean books, they can be out of,
Mhm.
pen and paper
Yep.
and into something where they can really start tracking. We have a saying that we might have borrowed from one of our other users, but if you can't grow if you can't measure,
Mhm.
right? And one of the things that's so brilliant about the software, one of the many things, Aaron, is that we allow you the tools to measure
Yes.
so that you can then grow.
Yep.
And I like to say when I go into training, I'm not coming in there like Gordon Ramsay, signs disasters 101.
Yeah.
I'm coming in, hey guys, we're here. We've kind of plateaued. How do we grow exponentially?
Yeah.
Let us help introduce the software to your worlds so that you can start really growing exponentially. And I think this training coming up, this reboot is a perfect example of that. I'm really excited about it.
That's going to be good.
Yeah.
I'm happy you're doing the reboot. I'm happy
Yeah.
you're getting more customers on. They get trained properly. They don't play the I know it all game and they actually say, yes, help us, which is huge because it hits the ground running so much faster.
Absolutely.
And let's see what those companies do.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for stopping by for a quick second here.
Sure. I love it. It's been a while, so it's nice to see you. And I'm glad that, you can tell great minds still think alike.
Yes, we got our fall colors on. It got colder. We went for the fall colors. Nordstrom and Bloomingdale's got nothing on us.
Right?
See you guys next week.
Thanks. Bye.